music, horror, art, politics, badassery. Welcome to Society 13. Welcome to Prog-Watch with your one and only host who is the most, Prog-Squatch.
Okay, here we are for the fourth episode of Prog-Watch. Thanks for joining us once again. I am your host, Big Tony, the Prog-Squatch. And this week I am here with Steve Luddig. And I'm actually doing the show remote at Steve's house. So if the audio sounds a little different, bear with me. It'll work. But anyway, if you recall, a few weeks ago I had Steve's brother Dave as my co-host. And I mentioned, that Steve was really my first choice of co-host and that I wanted to get to do a show with Steve. So here we are doing that show. So you want to say hi, Steve?
Hello, everybody out there in Progland, whatever you want to call it.
Progland, all right.
Progland, and yes, welcome to the show. I got Tony involved with this way back in the 80s, 90s?
80s.
80s?
Yep.
I got him into the Genesis and and ELP, mostly ELP. He before me, he really liked ELP a lot. As for that, my brother got me into a lot of that.
Yeah, so that's why we had Dave on when Steve couldn't make the show a few weeks ago. I had Dave, but yeah, going back 25, 30 years, however long ago it's been. I remember I was resistant to ELP because I didn't have a guitar player, and I was really guitar centric, that I couldn't see a band without a guitar player. But Steve broadened my horizons in that regard. ELP is a fantastic band. I love them. So anyway, we're going to move along here. We're going to get to the band for this week. The name of the band is Big Big Train from the United Kingdom. And basically this band's been through a lot of personnel changes through their history, and they have a history that goes way back, 15, 20 years into the early 90s, I guess.
Yes, back in the early 90s when they released their few demos that they had out before they were signed on for their first album.
Right. So we decided to focus a little more on their later output, although I know that you were a big fan of some of the early stuff.
Yes, the first two albums I really found were phenomenal. I would get them in a heartbeat. I really did enjoy all the different chord progressions, different instrumentals and things like that. I just really enjoyed them a heck of a lot. That it just pulled me in. When I first put it on, and it just really pulled me into their sound, and it was just this is fantastic. I wish I heard of them sooner.
All right, but with time constraints being what they are, we're going to focus on some of their later output, which I think is even a little more sophisticated in a lot of ways.
Yes, it is a little bit more sophisticated. They got to know their sound. I thought their harmonies were a lot better later on.
For sure.
And the music, still sound, generally the same, but I thought the harmonies and the vocals, came out a lot better in the later years.
Right. One of the interesting things is they've had 3 or 4 different vocalists, but it seems like, they've had a consistent base of the guys kind of steering the ship, I guess. I guess we can talk about who's in the band at this point. Greg Spotton and Andy Poole. Greg plays the keyboards and guitars, which, dude, I'm a huge fan of you at this point. I think you're a genius. And Andy playing some great bass lines. And I think between the two of them, they've been handling a lot of the writing chores. And I think that's one of the reasons why they were able to have other vocalists come in along the line as other guys departed and be able to maintain their sound. And it seems like they were lucky in finding vocalists. I had a hard time telling the difference between Sean Filkins, the guy who was the previous vocalist, to this David Longden. Whenever you're listening to it, unless you look at the lineup, you don't really quite realize that it was two different guys.
Yes, right, exactly. But like I said, the harmonies I thought were a lot better in the later years, around 2009, 2010.
Right, it seems like it's David Longden, their current vocalist. He also plays flute, accordion, mandolin, a little banjo, vibraphones, keys. He's throwing in a lot of different things here. So he's a multi-talented fella there. And I guess we'll finish out with the current incarnation of the band. Features Nick Virgilio, I guess.
Virgilio.
D. Virgilio, who some of you may know used to be the drummer for Spock's Beard, another great prog band, who maybe we'll do a show on them one of these times. I'd love to see if I can get the clearance. But so we have Nick there playing the drums from about 2009, 2010 on. And the first album we're going to start with is The Difference Machine. And this album had some interesting guests on it. Dave Maros was also a guest, and he was the bass player for, I think he still is the bass player for Spock's Beard. And Pete Trewavas did some bass work, and he of course is the bassist from Marillion. But anyway, I think we're going to start things rolling here with a cut from The Difference Machine, which was the 2007 album from Big Big Train. And the name of this song is, Steve?
Hope This Finds You.
Hope This Finds You. Correct. Now, this is an instrumental. We'll let you listen to it. It's one of the shorter cuts. Again, time constraints. We want to play a lot of things, but sometimes we have to choose a shorter song from an album or whatever, just because we don't have forever. We can't. Some of these songs are really long, and the band has a 15, 20-year history. We're kind of limited. But anyway, we're going to go ahead with Hope This Finds You from The Difference Machine. Once again, that was Hope This Finds You from The Difference Machine, Big Big Train's 2007 album. So, Steve, what do you like about this track?
Well, it's just a nice, easy listening, nice little melody, like a song from Genesis. It comes to mind, "Selling It by the Pound."
What cut does this remind you of?
After the Ordeal.
After the Ordeal, okay.
Okay, which is a Genesis, a little instrumental tune, about 3-4 minutes long, but it had a lot more keyboards. But I did enjoy the violin and the saxophone, the way they integrated that both together. But it's just a nice little 2.5 minute, I think it's
right around 3 minutes, yeah.
3 minute song that I just caught my ear, because I like real instruments. I like flutes, I like saxophones, I like horns, I like, type of those involved in my progressive rock type music. Even though a lot of the Yes and Genesis don't really, well, except Genesis, they use the flute.
They use some horns there with some people. We'll be flaming on about that.
Well, we won't go there on that,
right.
on Genesis. But with the flute and the violin, I love violins. I like strings. I like anything orchestral. And when they're putting it in, into the prog rock, I really do enjoy it. It's just like I like a lot of orchestras and things like that.
Same here. I liked it. I heard, like you said, it has that orchestral sound. There's like the strings, but there was the violin and the I think it was the soprano saxophone.
Soprano saxophone, yes.
It was just a nice little cut, a little instrumental. It really starts the album off. And by the way, this is a great album.
Yes, I did enjoy
The Difference Machine is a really good album. Just because some of the other songs that we wanted to get to tonight are a little longer, this is the only cut we could really play from it, but it's highly recommended.
Yes.
Okay, so anyway, I guess we're going to move on to the next cut, which is Master James of St. George. This is from the Underfall Yard. Yes, what year was that? 2009?
2009.
2009. The Underfall Yard, 2009. This is called Master James of St. George.
To build castles of stone, steel, and blood. And lions get broken down. Master James.
Okay, and once again, that was Master James of St. George from the Underfall Yard, the 2009 album by Big Big Train. And Steve, what do you think of this? I really like this song. I was a big proponent for featuring this song. Yeah, but I'd like to see what were your thoughts on it?
Well, I enjoyed the whole album on this. It's their sixth album, their sixth release, and I enjoyed the whole album.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, the whole album was
a strong
great,
album.
And,
and there's a couple longer cuts on there that are, again, we would love to play them, but they take up most of the show.
Exactly. But I really enjoyed the whole album. The harmonies were really phenomenal. It kind of reminds me, they weren't a prog rock band, but I'm thinking Seals and Crofts of the 70s.
Really?
Yeah, that's the way it sounds like to me. If you listen to something like Summer Breeze or some of their softer melodies, it did, to me, sound like that. And I did like that harmony. And it also reminded me of IQ. This song reminded me of IQ's earlier stuff.
Okay.
Dark Matter.
Okay.
Ever. Because I really do enjoy those albums.
Yeah, I like IQ a lot myself. Maybe one of these times we'll be able to have IQ on a show here.
Mm-hmm. But it has just a little less keyboards than what, lead keyboards. They had a lot of the background with the strings and the choir and things like that. They didn't have any real big lead synthesizer parts like what IQ would use. But they do have the choir and the strings.
Right, there's a nice kind of choir crescendo in the middle there.
Mm-hmm,
and then,
exactly.
And then it kind of came down into that little whistling thing, which I thought was pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the way this was constructed. It reminded me a little bit with the beat thing with the drums and the bass. Reminded me a tad of Watcher of the Skies by Genesis. Just had that little bit of a vibe.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yes, I see what you're saying there. But it was just one of the songs. I like I said, I enjoyed the whole album. I really couldn't pinpoint certain songs that really grabbed me the most. I just liked the whole album.
Yeah, me too. But this one stood out. I like any song that has the name George in it. My son's name George. But no, yeah, I'm a little biased. But you could probably say this song's a little thin lyrically. It basically is the same. I don't know, 6 or 8 lines sung over and over again. But like you said, the way they deal with it, the way they build harmonies on top the first time through just the one voice. Then the second time they're adding in these different harmonies and different counter melody things. That's the same vocal line, but they're elaborating on it, and it keeps your interest.
And it fills it in. It just gives it a lot more, more. I wouldn't say volume loud-wise, volume as in mass, like a choir, like a whole choir would come in, and it just fills the room,
fills it out,
fills all the music out.
And I love the instrumental section in Million. I think Greg Spotton again was brilliant on this track. There's some really great the guitar solo. I think is fantastic. It's
agreed.
It starts off a little quirky. There's like some quirky turns to it, and I think I'm a big fan of Greg Spotton. Greg, if you're listening, I love you, man. You're good. You're really good. Keep doing what you're doing. If that's about all we have on that one, I guess we'll move along to Master of Time from an EP by Big Big Train from the year 2010. This EP was called Far Skies, Deep Time.
Yes.
And this is Master of Time.
nestles down, sobbing still she dries her eyes, knowing that the world will cry the rest out. Where did beauty go? See it here, but it slipped away. When they come to lay me down, I will take your memory too. They'll know that in my final hour I loved you. Master of time, take me back through the years. Master of time, let me try once again, and I will give more. Oh, how I'll try. And with this new life I'll buy.
once again, that song was called Master of Time from the Far Skies Deep Time EP in 2010. All right, I know, Steve, you were a big fan of this song. This was picked. This was
Yeah,
Steve's pick,
this song just really grabbed me like big girl would grab you for a hug. I mean, it was just, this blew me away. This had Trespass written all over it.
That's funny you should say that, because it sounds like old school prog, not surprisingly, because it was written by
Anthony Phillips.
Anthony Phillips, who was the original
guitarist for Genesis,
right,
before Mike Rutherford came, or before Steve Hackett came in.
Right, and basically, if you don't know the Genesis history, Ant Phillips, he went by Ant for short, Anthony Phillips. He had to quit the band. It seemed like he had a bad case of nerves and
stage fright.
Yeah, he had stage fright.
He would literally get sick before we go up. As
the band got bigger, he couldn't do it. It was making him physically ill. So his doctor advised him to quit the band. But he went on and had a long solo career, and even had he made many solo albums, from which this song comes from one. And, even had guests like Phil Collins, and I don't think Tony Banks was on any of them, but I know Phil was on the Geese and the Ghost, the real popular Ant Phillips album from the 70s.
I do have one Anthony Phillips album. I cannot recall what it is. It's a double CD. I just haven't listened to it in a while, but I did enjoy it. But when I heard this song, I said, that's Trespass through and through, between The Knife, Stagnation. It had just basically that whole album just that one song sounded like that whole album, with a combination of all what they used with the flute and the vocals. This song really just blew my mind. Just totally blew my mind. They should have made it longer. They should have made it longer. But sometimes you make something too long, you ruin the whole thing. But this just totally blew my mind. This is highly recommended.
Yeah, I liked it a lot myself.
If you are a Genesis fan, if you're an Anthony Phillips fan, this is one EP that you should look into getting. This is a 5-star. 5-star material.
I think he likes it. Yeah.
Yes.
One of the things I liked that I want to put in there is the banjo. Now, you hear the banjo pop up on the Big Big Train albums here and there. There's a few songs. There was some on their latest English Electric that used some banjo. And I think that's another neat touch. It has a vibe, it has a sound, and it's a
different dimension.
Yeah, it adds another dimension to the music. Absolutely.
Yes, it does. Yes.
All right. And, of course, you also had the flute in there again. And I've said it many times, I think. I love flute. I love Mellotron. And I'm never going to apologize for it. No,
I love the old Mellotrons as well. And flute. I got a digital flute up there, but it still doesn't beat for the real thing, like what Ian Anderson can do. But it does sound decent that we can probably use in any type of material that we got to go into making.
Steve's shedding a little light on another aspect of our lives together. We used to play in bands together, and Steve's a keyboard player, and I'm kind of jack of all trades, master of none. Mm-hmm. Play a little bass, play a little drums, play a little guitar, a little keyboards. Mm-hmm. So anyway, maybe, who knows, maybe we got a project forthcoming. I know I'm working on an album of my own at this point, but when that's finished, I promised Steve that we would do something together, and we're going to do it. Me and his brother and another friend of his, I think we're going to make an album. But anyway, back to the meat of the show, which is Big Big Train here. We're going to play a song from a project that was kind of a 2 CD deal where they split it over 2 years. There was English Electric Part 1, which was released in 2012, and then English Electric Part 2, which was released in 2013. And they did an interesting thing where they combined them both into a double CD set with about 4 or 5 extra songs. And the next song we're going to listen to is called Make Some Noise, and it was one of the extra songs that they added to the compilation, which they called English Electric Full Power. And that was from 2013, and the name of the song is Make Some Noise.
Come on, make some Summer is here. We've got 6 long whole weeks, and so we find ourselves living the stuff of dreams. We are young, we've got it all going on, but one kid's primal roar is another man's still. We're tuning out and plugging in, yeah. Come on, make some noise. Come on, make some noise. We're gonna crank it up, 'cause it makes you feel good. Come on, make some noise. Yes, come on, make some noise. Simon and me, chasing adolescent dreams. Baked beans and soda streams. It sounds so rough, but it feels so good. Hey, come on, make some noise. Make some noise. Come on, make some noise. We're gonna crank it up. We're gonna make you feel good. Come on, make some noise. Yes, come on, make some noise. Come on, make some noise. Come on, make some noise. We're gonna crank it up to make you feel good. We're gonna go insane, going out of our place. We're gonna crank it up to give you our love. Come on, make some noise. Yes, come on, make some noise. Give me some noise.
Okay, so that was Make Some Noise from the English Electric Full Power compilation from 2013. So, Steve, you like this track a lot, right?
Yeah, I did enjoy it. It's one of the shorter tracks. It's only 4.5 minutes long. It's just a good upbeat, very positive, very not
It's catchy.
Yes, very catchy. I agree.
catchy.
It's a very positive, upbeat song that I did enjoy. I think this will probably go easily sold as a single. I don't know if it was ever released as a single over there or not. That's one thing. We're living in the wrong country here.
Yeah. At least for good music.
Yes, at least for good music. Yes. Yes.
But no. Coming up soon, we're going to have some good American prog. I promised that I would find some, and I have. But
very good. But the idea is, I thought this would probably been released on the radio because it was that type of short song.
Sure.
It's very, very upbeat.
Make some noises like a crowd, calling on the crowd. Get them to wave their lighters or get all wound up.
Some at the end of a concert that would keep on doing
Right.
to the end because they really, it sounds like an end of the world ending. If you were in a band, you know what we're talking about.
It is an end of the world ending.
Yeah, you just start blowing the whole song up and
smashing a bunch of cymbals.
Yeah,
and,
that's
and
what it
rolling
sounds like.
the double bass drum and whatever else.
Smash the guitar. I wouldn't go that far, but
Yeah.
but I thought this would sound good on the radio.
Yeah, I agree. It's rousing and it's catchy.
Mm-hmm.
And it had some nice flute in the beginning. I like that. Nice, tip of the hat to the prog again. David Longden is a man of many talents and a pretty darn good flute player, in my opinion. He doesn't really sound like Ian Anderson or Peter Gaze. He's his own man. He's not,
Right.
But very competent, very good player. I like what he comes up with. And I really like the middle, too, when you get into like a nice rollicking piano thing to support. And again, another killer guitar solo from Greg Spotton. I can't say enough about Greg. I think he's fantastic. All right, so we're going to move along, I guess. And we're going to play the last song. This is a song that, if Master of Time blew Steve's socks off, this one blew my socks off the first time I ever heard it. And as I listened to it more, I started listening to the lyrics and found an interesting story, which I'll share after we listen to it. But for right now, this is also from the English Electric Full Power compilation, although it was also included on the first English Electric Part 1 album from 2012. It's called Judas Unrepentant.
Expertise in spite proven to be his undoing. And so he confesses, and then he's arrested, charged him with conspiracy to defraud. Years of chain smoking and breathing in fumes from restorations. The stress of the court case have taken its toll. His trial was halted due to
Once again, that was Judas Unrepentant from English Electric Part 1 or from the English Electric Full Power compilation, whichever you can get your grubby little hands on, which I would highly recommend doing it. I mean, the compilation is fantastic. If you had to choose between Part 1 and Part 2, I think Part 1 is just a tad stronger musically, but a great collection when they put it all together, and they even mixed the songs up, and it had a neat flow to it. I think it was a pretty interesting thing that they did with it. But anyway, this song, Judas Unrepentant, I loved it right from the first notes, where it had the neat little piano and organ thing going on. And when he started singing, and as I listened to the song a few times, I started listening to the lyrics, and I started wondering, what's he singing about exactly? And I dug up a story. It was an interview. David Longdon wrote the lyrics, and he had done an interview explaining how he came up with the lyrics. And basically, the song is based on a person called Tom Keating, who was in the 70s. He was a fellow who was involved in restoring artworks by the masters. So he had studied their techniques and their brush strokes and all these things, and was an expert at trying to, fix up deteriorating paintings and all those kind of things that they do. Anyway, I guess he sort of got disillusioned with the whole art scene, with the so-called experts and critics, and wanted to stir the muck, make some trouble, make some noise, maybe, and so what he started doing was forging paintings by the masters. And what he did was, supposedly they were spot on perfect, but he was actually putting small clues in there to show that they were not actual originals.
But fooled the critics as well.
But they fooled people, and some of them were being sold at auction as the real deal.
For millions and millions of dollars.
And this is what he was trying to kind of expose, is that these so-called experts and critics and stuff didn't really know, that there was this whole kind of hypocrisy built around it. But anyway, obviously the authorities were kind of interested in that kind of thing, and they did catch up with Tom in the late 70s, but his health was deteriorating. He was charged with passing off some of these forgeries, but he never went to trial, and he ended up dying at the age of 64. But interestingly, in the early 80s, he had a show on where he was demonstrating some of the painting techniques of the great masters. And Steve, I think you said you remembered actually seeing that kind of thing.
Oh yes, I mean, I'm not an art guy, but I mean, it was phenomenal. I mean, he used the same type of foils, same type of material, the canvas, and you just cannot. I mean, you put one next to the other, you cannot tell unless you're probably having magnifying and you really know the real work.
Right.
It was just, and he just did that all with the naked eye. It was unbelievable, this guy's talent.
But he studied, he thought he was a hack, but obviously he was talented if he could pass off forgeries.
Yes, if you can pass a forgery off, yes. But I mean, this song reflected that, which I didn't put the two together. But when Tony did start talking about this on this interview, and I said, it just brought back a story that I saw on the news sometime a while ago. And I remember the whole story. I don't remember names, but I do remember that story. And I had to go back and listen to this song again. I said, yes, it does refer to that. Yeah,
basically, the reason why it became Judas Unrepentant, I'll finish the story here, is that Tom Keating, the forger guy, his favorite artist was Rembrandt. And there's a famous painting by Rembrandt called Repentant Judas Returning the Pieces of Silver, in which Judas is bringing back the silver that he got for selling out Christ. And I guess David Longdon saw Tom Keating as kind of an unrepentant Judas because he wasn't really sorry for what he did. You know, he did it on purpose for a reason to try to expose what he thought was hypocrisy in the art world. And so he was an unrepentant Judas, and there you have the title, Judas Unrepentant. And I think it's a fascinating little song, you know, obviously strong musically, a lot of great keyboard work, and an interesting subject matter. Great melody. I love this song.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. It's an interesting song. Like I said, if you can put it to the story, the real story of how this song came about, and it's just, you know, it just kind of blows your mind how a writer, I'm not a writer, can take a story, turn it around, but make something else out of it that speaks what had happened.
Yeah.
It's just...
It's all, another thing this had that I really liked, there was a musical interlude in there in the middle that had some fantastic flute and mellotron once again. A couple of my favorite instruments again.
I love the original mellotron. I wish I could get a hold of one, but I don't think so. There's not too many, and the tapes are, forget it. You can't get the tapes for them anymore.
Mellotron was an interesting instrument. For those of you who may not know, it was basically a pre-synthesizer, basically. It was before the Moogs, even in the late 60s.
It was all about the same time when the modular systems started coming out in the late 60s.
Yeah, but I think the Mellotron goes like 65, 60. It's on some early Moody Blues stuff, you know, and Mike Pinder Pinder, however you pronounce it, from the Moody Blues he actually worked for the Mellotron company, and he was a big advocate of it. But the thing was how to play. Basically, what it did is it had four main voices. There was flute, there was choir, there was the strings, and there was horns. And for each key on the keyboard, there was a tape that had that note played on the flute, and another tape that had that note played on the choir sound and the string sound and the horn sound and so forth. So every time you were pressing down a key or holding a chord, you were actually playing these little tape loops inside the machine.
But you can only hold them for 3 or 4 seconds. You can hold them on for long.
Start melting the tape. I think it was one of the problems, the limitations.
But the authenticity of the sound was so real, especially the choir.
For the time. I mean, this was before synthesis.
This was before digital, before analog.
Yeah.
I mean, for the sound reproduction, I love the choir.
Yeah, and the Moody Blues and the strings. The Moody Blues use it extensively. The Beatles used it.
But so did Tony Banks, so did Rick Wakeman.
Right.
Yeah, they both had Mellotrons.
Went into the late
Rick
60s
Wakeman
into
had
the
2 of them.
70s.
Rick Wakeman used 2 of them. Tony Banks had 1. And Watcher of the Skies is a very
Sure.
popular one.
Well, I wanted to put in one more thing about the limitations of the Mellotron. I was reading an article where, I don't know if it was Rick Wakeman or somebody. I think it was Rick Wakeman. I read his blog sometimes, his grumpy old Rick blog. But anyway, he was talking about how, when bands who used the Mellotron, when they'd the keyboard players would meet up, on tour or whatever, they'd swap their Mellotron horror stories because the thing was a veritable pain in the ass. Okay. Oops, I just swore for the first time, I think, on Prog-Watch. But anyway, basically, what could happen is that, the tape loops would start wearing out, so they would change pitch. The pitch could change if, as the tapes got old, they stretched, and that made the pitch then lower. I think, right?
Right, yeah.
And then if you were using it for an outdoor show or something like that, if it was cold temperatures, the tapes would be contracted and the pitch would be higher. And, on a hot day, the pitch would be low. So there was a way to tune it, but supposedly keeping it in tune with the rest of the band was a real pain in the butt. And I think the Moody Blues Isle of Wight concert has it on there, but I think it's a little bit out of tune if I recall. But anyway, I guess that's enough of a digression on the Mellotron there. And I guess we'll close up here. Overall,
Overall, like I said, when Tony introduced this band to me, I put it on the CD. Those first 2 albums were, like I said, were phenomenal. And then you can hear the progression of the vocals getting better. I thought the harmonies got better. The different layering, the different types of prog, different types of styles that they were putting in there, just really started advancing. Those first 2 albums, really just knocked my socks off.
We didn't get to play any of those, but yeah, they're highly recommended.
I highly recommend. Go back. If you like this newer stuff, I think you'll even like the earlier stuff a lot. Just as much.
Yeah, just as much.
Just as much.
Yeah.
Just as much.
So I think they're a little more sophisticated now, but they were definitely worth listening to on their first albums as well.
Yes, I do agree with that.
So yeah,
all in all, I would really rank them up there with the IQs and the Genesis and the Yes of the 70s, and Anthony Phillips. Because he's another guy to look into.
I got a lot of his stuff. We'll have to get together and have an ant festival.
Yes. And it's just, this is one group you should really look into. Like I said, it just blew my mind from the first track all the way to the last. I played all 8 or 9 albums that I have loaned to me, and it just. I hate to give them back. Put it that way. I hate to give them back.
Yeah, a good band. This is
one band that you do want to go out and really investigate and look into listening to.
And as we always say, if you have a hard time finding them, you might find them at a used store or whatever, especially if they have a little bit of a network of several stores, or maybe they can pull, which we have a small chain around here where you can find this kind of stuff occasionally. But barring that, go to the website. We live in the age of the internet, and I'm sure,
you can find it somewhere.
You can buy it right off their website, I'm sure. So, I guess that'll wrap it up. Again, I thought this was one of the better bands that I've encountered in the last 10 years or so, and Steve seems to be pretty much in agreement with that. But anyway, check out Big Big Train, and I guess that's going to wrap it up for episode 4 here of Prog-Watch. So, I'll say so long from the Prog Squatch, and Steve?
Take care, everybody. Go Prog.
Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.